Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to see everyone. About 5 days removed from the end of spring drills. Start by my condolences to the Barrett family of the passing of Ernie, Mr. K-State. What a great man. Had a lot of interactions in my 4+ years with Ernie, and everybody remembers the strong handshakes and grabbing the back of your neck. But a pure K-Stater. That football was really important to him. Athletics in general. He embraced myself and our staff, and my thoughts go to the Barrett family. Finished up spring drills on Saturday with a short practice and then a little bit of a scrimmage with the younger guys. It's hard right now for spring games for a couple reasons. One, we were down tight ends and defensive ends because the amount of kids that had season-ending surgeries, that we didn't have enough bodies there, and just roster management. You know, you lose kids. A lot of kids. Some kids enrolled early. Some kids didn't enroll early. So your numbers are different at each position. But you know, for the past few years, I felt very comfortable with how we've done spring ball, and we're getting our work in, keeping guys as healthy as we can. And making sure that we're progressing towards 2023. So I thought we had really good work done in spring drills, and excited. We had a lot of guys out, obviously, like we've had in previous spring balls, but a lot of younger players got some work. We shelved some of the 6-year guys, some of the old linemen especially, and a couple of linebackers, and just to make sure that we could continue to focus on the future and focus on developing a bunch of those young old linemen that we're really excited about. So I'm in the process right now of meeting with every kid on the football team, and had a few days of those this week. And then I've got the majority of them next week before we end up heading out the following weekend for Big 12 meetings in Phoenix and 1st of May. So busy times around here.
Solidified your staff for this upcoming season. 7 of those 10 were with you on day one. How do you quantify the value of that staff continuity?
It's huge to have the amount of guys that have the same message and know our messaging as coaches, as support staff, and strength staff. To be able to have that same message, to be able to see that familiar face. A lot of, especially after this year, so many coaches receive opportunities. You know, that's the price of success, is the opportunities that coaches have. You know, to get guys to stay, it says a lot about the quality of people in our program, from players to support staff and coaches, and how well these guys like working with each other.
Did you walk away from the spring with anyone in particular that you know that'll play more than you thought beforehand?
You know, that's hard to say. Yes, there probably are a few. For me to just rattle off 2 or 3, it'd be a disservice to probably the 2 or 3 or 5 that I missed. You know, we wanted to continue to get better on the offensive line. That's the easy one with all those kids coming back. You know, the Andrew Leingangs, the Carver Willises, the Sam Hecks, the guys that have been here for a little bit that are continuing to get better and better, and Sam Shields getting better, and then some of our freshmen, you know, that came in last year that maybe were 260 that are now 275 to 280. That maybe another year with those guys will get them to 290, 295 when we got to replace all those guys. Now, we fully expect to be able to play 8-9 guys. You know, it's so fun to see Taylor Portier out there. And he was not cleared for contact, but he's so much further along right now than he was last year at this time. He was out there in pads doing all the individual drills. I did have a meeting with him. He's excited about playing, and let's hope great things happen for him.
Coach, you guys lost a lot of bodies in the safety room, and then obviously Kobe was dinged up this spring. What is the depth looking like in that room right now?
It was unfortunate that we lost Kobe late in the season, and then we lost Sincere late in the season. The benefit of that was VJ Payne getting a chance to play a lot more and having, you know, 2.5 full games of snaps where he was the guy. And so that experience will help him. Marquise Siegel, that came in mid-year, is a really good player. I think Josh Hayes type guy, maybe a little bit different skill set, but Siegel's a really good player that we were excited about. Colby McAllister's taken some big strides coming forward. Max Marsh is doing some good things. There's some other younger players that were getting some opportunities. But getting Kobe Savage back, Kendre Steiger's another one that was injured. It didn't go through spring ball, but he's been in the mix. He started against South Dakota. So we have some depth, but we need to develop that experience fast. And so we have to play some guys and get some guys actively involved in captain's practices as well as fall camp so that we can get a good rotation back there.
And another one of those losses from last year would be Ty Zentner.
Yep.
You guys have obviously talked about wanting to shore up the kicking position. Yeah. How is that coming along?
It's neat to see Ty, for starters, get the recognition that he's so well earned with the amount of NFL teams that have come in here to work him out. And I'm really hoping that Ty gets drafted because I think he deserves it. He set the bar pretty dang high now. And what he did the last half of last year is as good as I've seen as far as a combo guy doing everything. And we have good depth back there. We have good competition. Jack Bloomer's punted here before, so we're excited about continuing to push Jack. And then at the kicker, we've got a number of guys, starting with Chris that has had some game reps. And then we have some couple of young players that we're really excited about. I think there's really good competition, and I think all those guys appreciate the competition. We have Randon Plattner back as a long snapper for like his 14th year here. But we have Mason Olguin that is doing just as well, that is ready to help us if we need be. So I like our depth there, and I like our competition.
As far as roster management goes, are you guys still open to potentially adding from the portal if the right fit comes along?
Yeah, potentially. I'm still having those player meetings right now, so we need to get through that. We're in a window right now that kids would be able to. I don't see anybody leaving right now, but there's still 8 days left of that. We have to understand that what we have throughout spring is what we have to focus on, what we're going to have in the fall. We have a number of freshmen that are still coming in June that might be able to help us on special teams, might be able to help us in a specific position, but we're still kind of evaluating that as coaches.
Chris, I know what your stance is on, not having a spring game or spring showcase, but there are still some fans out there who kind of wish maybe you did something. Have you ever thought about trying to bring it back in some way in the future?
Yeah, it's something that maybe we will do. We ended up starting on the stadium, which was probably more important to us. Getting that turf pulled up middle of last week. But, here's an easy answer, and it could be something as simple as, well, I just want to be there and watch the guys. I want everybody to see Deuce Vaughn play in the fall. And everybody wants to see Deuce Vaughn play in the spring. And for 3 years, that kid didn't get touched in the spring. And he was able to have pretty good falls. And so everybody, if they come to a game, and I understand it from a fan's perspective, they want to come and watch some of the young guys, but they also want to come and watch guys like Deuce. And every time Deuce carries the football in March and April, I'm holding on for dear life, that hoping somebody doesn't fall on the kid and tear his knee. So that's a little bit of why we don't do it as well, in the fact of we want work to be done in a controlled environment. We get a second and third down period. We get 7-on-7. We get red zone. We get third and fourth down periods. We get all these situational things without just saying put the ball up there and play. We did that with the younger guys, and it's something that I've been doing for a long time, and I firmly believe that that's the best thing for us. Unless something changes where we get more people here and more bodies, it would have been hard to say, sorry, the couple of defensive ends we have here, you have to play every play because we can't even take a break.
Giving the ball to Deuce a lot the last couple of years. I'm wondering with Trayshawn, DJ, and some other guys now in the rotation. Do you see yourself next season being more of a we need 1, 2, and 3 running backs sharing the load, or could it be another situation where one guy emerges?
No, I think we'll have more guys. DJ didn't participate this spring. Trayshawn was very limited this spring, so we learned and got to see Anthony Frias and LeJames White and Shippers and Cantu. We got to see some younger guys. But DJ's the most experienced guy, and we need multiple guys. You can't replace with one guy like you can with Deuce that could do everything from first down to third down, and the durability and the conditioning. We need a number of guys, and even DJ found that out last year, that we were able to give him specific games, quite a few carries to take the load off of Deuce, and I know that's what Coach Anderson and Coach Klein have envision is we want to make sure we get 3 or 4 ready to play.
You've been through 2 season cycles of the 3-3 defense.
Mm-hmm.
How would you gauge the progress, and are you pretty much on par with where you thought you could be?
Yeah, we are. There's some things that we added this spring. Even though we're locked into the 3-3-5, our personnel has changed so much in that, meaning in 2021, our outside linebacker in it was Reggie Stubblefield. And that was a really good deal in some pass game stuff and even some decent stuff in the run game, but he was a smaller body. And we saw how people tried to attack that. Then we went with a bigger body in Khalid Duke this year, and Duke had a really good year, and we did some different things with Duke, but we saw how people tried to attack us with having a bigger body there. And so that's, I think, where I see Coach Klanderman and the defensive staff having a great understanding of is we know how people are attacking based on the personnel we have to use. Now, how do we counter that? Because we have to continue to evolve with our defense. We did some things differently this spring within that configuration of 3-3-5 that I'm really excited about, that I think our fans will really like too.
And you lead me right into Jake Clifton. Is he seeing a lot of action at Sam? And
Yep.
how are the linebackers kind of shaking out?
He's done a little bit of everything. Jake's a terrific athlete. We even had him a little bit at safety so we could teach him that. And the biggest reason, not that I'm saying Jake's a safety, we taught him that because we kept talking about him last November, and then all of a sudden we lose a guy. And we talk about him again because we lose another guy. And it's like, boy, how can we teach him that much stuff in a week's time, even though he's a really smart kid? And I just talked to that defensive staff, and I said, I just want another guy understanding it. So if we have the issues we had last year, we can't say, well, he's never done this before. But he's doing a really good job. Des Purnell is really coming into his own. I'm excited about Des. Des moved from safety to linebacker, played a lot of football for us last year with Duke. And Des understands our defense as well as anybody. So I'm excited about Des, and I thought he had a really good spring. Austin Moore and Daniel Green, everybody knows those two guys are terrific football players. We shelved those guys a lot of spring ball. They practiced for a little bit more than half, like some of those older offensive linemen, and then we allowed Gavin Forche and Terry Kirksey and some of our younger players to take more and more reps. Toby Osunsami was able to take more and more reps. All those guys got better because we were able to hold off Austin and Deuce. So from the depth standpoint, we feel much better. Bo Palmer's another guy that I should mention simply because we know Bo can help us, but he's coming off an injury and didn't get to participate in spring. But I know that Coach Standard's excited because we have a lot more depth. We have a couple freshmen that we're really excited about as well. And I'm sure I missed somebody in that group. There's a bunch of guys that through special teams or defense can help us there at the linebacker spot.
And from a coverage aspect with that safety unit, how would you analyze where they've progressed through the spring?
We moved so many guys around. VJ played a couple different spots. Siegel played a new spot. So, it's hard to evaluate, to be honest with you. I know that they progressed in learning it. Realize a lot of these kids have either done it for the first time or done it for the first time at a different position. And we have a long ways to go and have some good captains practices, good fall camp. Get a couple more guys. When you get Kobe Savage involved, and that helps us quite a bit from a leadership standpoint, communication standpoint. Same with Kendra Steiger, who's played a little bit. I'm excited about what Coach Klieman has to do to get to work with those guys in the secondary.
We're going to be able to talk to Ben Sinnott in a little bit. I'm just curious, when you think of Ben, what first comes to mind?
How hard Ben has worked to get where he's at today. And it wasn't easy for Ben. He and I had our meeting already. He was a walk-on that came in here and earned an opportunity, and he was, undersized, 205, 207, 210 pounds, and knew he needed to change everything he did in the weight room, everything he did with his eating habits to have a chance. That's not easy to do when you don't know if you're even going to get a chance. And he bought in. Everything, nutrition, strength training, changing his eating habits, everything. He changed everything to say, I want to play. I just don't want to be a part of a team. I want to play and be a difference maker. And he was out all spring because of an injury. He's going to be healthy and cleared full go in the summer, and I'm excited to see what he can do, because I think he's one of our best receivers. We have really talented wide receivers, and I think throughout the course of late last season, people would have thought, that kid's a phenomenal receiving tight end as well as a tremendous blocker. So I think there's a great opportunity for Ben to have a special season.
Was there we saw the catches toward the end of the season. Was there anything that he did that surprised even you? No,
because I just know what a great athlete the kid is, from baseball to hockey to football to basketball to golf. The guy can do it all. He really can. And so when you're athletic and then you gain confidence. And that's the thing that Ben would tell you. Once he gained confidence to say, you know what, I can play at this level. Because it's that, whatever that moment is, to say, no, I'm good enough to play at this level. And you don't have it as a freshman. You think you do, but you don't have it as a freshman. And all of a sudden it started to click for him this redshirt sophomore year. And I saw a very confident kid start believing more and more. And I saw Will Howard and Adrian say, man, this kid's really good. And he's starting to believe how good he is. That's why he's such a matchup nightmare for people.
Another one on Ben. How proud were you, first team All Big 12? And then secondly, what's his potential going forward?
Yeah, he's an All-American type player. If he stays hungry and stays focused, which I believe he will, of not being content with what he did, as well as getting his body back. When you miss all of spring and miss a lot of the winter workouts, you're spending all the time in the training room, and that's hard. But there's a lot of guys in there with you. But to get your body back in peak performance, and he and Will Howard are really close. And I think that's a great thing because they watch film a lot together. They throw a lot together. I think everybody saw that those two are on the same page an awful lot. And, quarterback's best friend's typically a tight end when heat's on and there's a big body out there you can throw it up to and the kid can come down with it.
How much easier is it to convince a guy like Jake Rubley not to kind of look other places in the portal or what have you when you have the example of Will Howard staying and how that patience can kind of be rewarded?
You bet. And I had a good conversation with Rubes not long ago. Jake loves K-State, and he has a bunch of great friends here. The credit has to start with Colin Klein, because I get a chance to sit in on those quarterback rooms, and that's a close-knit bunch of guys. It was when Skyler was playing and Will was the backup that didn't know if Sky was going to be healthy. It was last year when Adrian was a guy, then it became Will, and both of them helped each other out. And I watched Jake Rubley help him out as well, even though he knew he was the third, and helped him out, knowing Will was going to come back. But Jake's been around here enough to know that you're oftentimes one snap away from being the guy. And shoot, I don't know if he realized it, but he prepared himself that he was 2 snaps away against TCU on the road, that it can happen at any time. And Never crossed my mind that Jake would come in and say he's going anywhere, because Jake loves K-State. He's got great friends here, and Jake's one of the most improved players we've had from last fall to this spring as far as taking care of his body, getting better, and I'm excited for him.
And then what can you say about the impact that Coach Middleton has had since he's gotten on campus?
It's never easy to come in midstream. And for all those guys, I look at Phil and I look at Seth in particular that have been here for a long time, that potentially this is their fourth wide receiver coach, and that's not easy as well. But I told Coach Middleton, the one thing you're going to have is a bunch of guys that want to play, and a bunch of guys that want to get better, and a bunch of guys that are going to be coachable, that know what it takes to win a Big 12 championship. And I think Coach Middleton's done a phenomenal job of educating and teaching. I think just watching his drill work, watching him coach, he's a teacher first, and motivates the kids, looks after them, builds relationships with them, challenges them. We're excited that we have Matthew and his family here, because he's going to be a guy that we're going to count on as a coach, because he's got a great mind, and I know has already helped implement some things with CK in the pass game.
And going off of one of Kellis's questions, there's been a lot of talk around college football, several other coaches, about spring exhibitions between teams. Obviously, you talked about the injury aspect and not wanting to deal with it. Does that appeal to you at all, that kind of format?
Yeah, I am under the understanding that it may go the other way, and it may go to the NFL model of OTAs, so that we aren't when you throw the playoff in there, you potentially are asking kids to play 15 games now, maybe 16 games. And now you're going to turn around from that and start spring ball, and in a month have a scrimmage against somebody. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, these kids got to have, they're young people. They have to have their bodies time to heal. All of us are dealing with roster management. I don't care what level you're at, from Division III to Power 5 to the blue blood programs, if you want to say, with how many guys are going to be able to win for you next year. Nobody wants to put their best players out there on April 18th in a big-time scrimmage. In my mind, I don't want to. Other people may. I hear it's going to go the other way, and we may get to an OTA deal where you're not having as many injuries in the spring.
Speaking of roster management, are you looking forward to the day when the whole COVID year ends, and how helpful will that be?
I am. It's a benefit to the guys that maybe didn't get as much time in 2020 to develop, didn't get as much time to play, whatever it may be. But it's really hard, because you don't know who's coming back. You don't know what year people really are sometimes. And you got to do the math and look at it. And then you got to talk to them and say, okay, are you coming back for a 6th year? I haven't decided, really thought about that. That's a lot of times the answer. Or, yeah, I really am. And then you say to them, well, we don't want you back. But then you want them to play your tail off for this year, though. Or, no, I'm not at all. And then you recruit that spot. And then they say, you know what, I've changed my mind. I do want to come back. And that's where it's hard in roster management. Trust me, I'm so happy we have all these offensive linemen back. But if you told me they were all coming back on December 15th, Coach Riley and I said, man, I don't know, or December 10th, whenever it was, I didn't know if they were. And so that's where it struggles in recruiting, to say, how many spots do we have for O-linemen? How many spots do we have for safety? How many spots do we have for corner? Wherever it is, and you think, oh, we have this amount of spots, and then somebody decides to come back, then you lose that spot. Or you think they're coming back and they don't, you have another spot. That's where it's tricky in roster management. It really is. We're not equal at all of our positions, as far as we want to have this amount of scholarship kids at O-line, running back, da-da-da-da. We're not equal, and we're not going to be equal for a few more years.
Also, you talked about the Sam linebacker, where you went with a smaller and a bigger guy. Have you kind of settled in on
love to have one in between? Love to have one in between, but that's what we're still trying to figure out. And we're 2 years into this, and there's not many guys that are 3 years in the program that have only been at that spot. Even Desmond kind of moved to that spot. I think there's advantages to both. In certain situations, even when we had Duke in there, we replaced him with a DB in there for third down and stuff. Well, you guys are watching enough college football to know that can happen, and all of a sudden they get a first down and come right back on the ball, and now it's hard because you can't get that kid out of the game. And then how many defenses are you going to show that kid so that he knows, because he may be stuck out there for 5 plays because of the tempo. And that's where it's difficult, about it's even situational things of you put 3 big defensive linemen in there because it's first down and you expect to run, or second down you expect to run, and all of a sudden they stay on the ball, and all of a sudden you can't get those guys off. And that's where you got to be really creative and make sure that you don't overload your guys with too many coverages, too many blitzes at specific positions, because you want them to be a third down skill set guy.
That kind of been a recruiting challenge, I guess, across the board on the defense, even a couple years in after changing. I know talking to Coach White and Coach Toohey, you're kind of different body types now.
No, without a doubt. We thought we finally answered it this year of what we're trying to look for at that defensive end spot. When you're in the 4 down, you can find a Nate that's 210 pounds, or a Felix that's 210 pounds, and you hope you can build them up to 240, 245. If you look at the kids that we recruited at defensive end this year, they're already 240 or already 230. And now we're trying to get those guys to 260 as opposed to get them from 215 to 240. But Mott, Nate, even Felix, who was a little bit bigger, those guys have embraced it and said, no, I'll play wherever you need me to play, because they love K-State. And we put them into some spots, and we let them use their quickness too. And that's really been a benefit to us as well.
Also, on offense, you kind of started to phase out the fullback
we did.
position. How has that gone, and has that been a challenge?
Simply because we want to get the tight ends that can be fullback when we need to get into that fullback. And most people's tight ends are off the ball anymore and not all on the ball. And that's essentially what the fullback does anyway. And that's moving forward. We have Christian Moore, who's truly a fullback towards the tail end of his career. And then we've got to make a decision, and CK does, of, okay, we're gonna find a few of these guys, or 1 or 2, but not make it a priority, and try to find longer tight ends like we have right now.
Important question.
Okay.
Catbackers is coming up. Mm-hmm. Football, basketball. How excited does this make you?
It really excited. It's fun to see what all of our sports are doing, and I'm not even sure which swing I'm on right now. You probably know better than I do in what swing Jerome's on, but no, exciting times. When you have the run that our basketball team did, you have what we did in football. You have the excitement that Coach Mitty has with everybody coming back and adding players. I mean, and what Pete's doing. I mean, it's exciting times right now for all of us, and so. It's fun to get out and see and thank all those people that you see along that Catbacker trail, and thank them for their support, because we can't do this, and the players would struggle if we don't have packed houses. And we always tell our guys we have full stadiums for a couple reasons. One, the fact that we hope we have good products, and secondly, we're giving back, and the fans are seeing our kids in the community and throughout the state.